Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today, Ross Marcagiani, with another great conversation at revowell.com. Today we're going to be talking about IBS versus IBD. We're talking about what they are, some common symptoms, how we diagnose for these issues, and then how we treat them. I hope you're ready to get started. Let's dive in. So first, before we talk about IBS and IBD, the main issue at hand is the issue, it's going to be targeting the large intestine. And we're going to see that that's going to be the main source of the issue, but we'll find out that if we don't treat this, it can start to stem and affect the small intestine and other areas of our digestion. And when we're talking about the large intestine, what does that primarily do? So the large intestine is really important for water reabsorption, reabsorbing important ions and minerals, and really helpful for creating new healthy bacteria as well. So that's something to be aware of as well. So when we're talking, and then also real quick, the major issue that encompasses both of these diseases or issues is going to be inflammation. So really trying to find the source of inflammation, or maybe finding various sources of inflammation and diminishing and knocking down that inflammation so we stop having these negative effects. That's the real issue to take in when we're looking at this overall condition, is that where is this underlying inflammation coming from? And how do we address it and knock it out basically? So we have IBS here. IBS stands for Irritable Bowel Syndrome. Then we have IBD, which is Irritable Bowel Disease. So that's the first thing. When we're first going to talk about Irritable Bowel Syndrome. This is a little bit harder to diagnose. It's considered a little bit more to be like subclinical or a functional issue, which basically means it's hard to address and hard to, scientifically quantitate it to conventional medicine as a disease or issue. But what's happening here typically is that we're having issues in that large intestine. We're going to be having typically abdominal discomfort. We're going to have cramping, we'll have headache, fatigue, but the major issue here is we're going to see change in frequency and consistency of our bowel movements, whether it may be excessive diarrhea or excessive constipation, other issues like that, typically troubles with going to the bathroom or bowel movements. And in conventional medicine, they diagnose it through Rome criteria. And the Rome criteria is basically the symptoms that I just talked about, and you need to have these symptoms 3 days out of the month for at least 3 consecutive months. And then also, you need to have these symptoms for 6 months straight to be considered to have IBS. And in functional medicine, what we're going to typically do is we're going to test right away. We'll go into our other diagnostic procedures that we'll be doing, and we're going to take care of this issue. We're going to diminish it. We're not going to wait around and let it get worse and possibly perpetuate into other issues. We're going to stop the source right away. And then we're going to go now into IBD. So this is a little bit more of an alarming issue, because if IBD goes untreated, it can possibly stem into cancer and other GI cancerous issues. So that's a big thing to be aware of, that it's strongly linked to cancer, GI cancer, colon cancer. The real issue with IBD is it's an autoimmune attack. And like if anyone has watched my other videos, if we suspect one autoimmunity, you need to be on the lookout for other autoimmunities. And like we know, autoimmunity is just where there's something causing the immune system to be revved up and the body is attacking itself. So trying to figure out why we're revving up this immune system, what's causing the body to start to attack itself. And then IBD, we have 2 main sources here. We're going to either have Crohn's or we'll have ulcerative colitis. And this is how we differentiate the two, is typically by a colonoscopy. And in Crohn's, the colonoscopy is going to show that we're going to have right-sided issues. It's mainly going to be the right side of the colon, so that ascending colon, and it also will stem into the ileum as well. So again, that could start to create a lot of issues with absorption, specifically B12, because B12 is absorbed in that terminal ileum where Crohn's could be going on. And vitamin D as well will be another issue that we'll address. So again, right-sided issues in the ileum stemming into the colon. We're going to have skip lesions, or also notice they're kind of called like cobblestone lesions. So if you've ever been like on an old sidewalk and they still have the cobblestone, that's actually what your large intestine is looking like, and it's sporadic, so it's not continuous. You'll see the cobblestones through that colonoscopy be sporadic. It'll never really get over to the rectum, namely it's going to stay on that right side, and we're going to have fistulas and abscess. So basically this is just holes in our intestine essentially, and creating a lot of issues for absorption, and creating a lot of these symptoms. These two symptoms of Crohn's and ulcerative colitis is just going to be abdominal pain and diarrhea. So that's basically something to be aware of. I know it's very vague, but those are going to be the two major symptoms when talking about Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Now, when we look at ulcerative colitis on the colonoscopy, what we're typically going to see is mainly it's going to be towards the left side now. It's going to start to affect that descending colon, the sigmoid colon, and then the rectum as well. We're going to notice that it's going to be uniform inflammation. So we don't have those skip lesions anymore. It's consistent uniform inflammation. And we're also going to see that we're probably going to have blood in the stool, or possible traces of blood in the stool as well. And then the real issue here, parasites. So we want to be looking at possible parasitic infections and other amoebas that may be altering and causing this revved up immune system to be attacking the large intestine. Typically what we're going to see, or what I'm going to look for, is we're going to look for H. pylori. H. pylori is strongly associated with IBD and IBS, so making sure we're knocking that out. We're also going to see possible association with Cryptosporidium. Cryptosporidium is typically seen to mimic Crohn's-like symptoms, so knocking that bug out might diminish that as well. And then also looking at Blastocystis hominis. I had a little brain fart there. So looking at blasto. Blasto is typically going to mimic IBS-like symptoms. So if we take care of these issues and we take care of these bugs with correct protocols and correct herbs and nutrients, we're gonna basically knock these issues down and treat IBS and IBD-like symptoms. So the test that we can do here, along with the colonoscopy and other Rome criteria, other diagnostic skills, we're going to look at a stool profile. We'll be able to assess if we do have these parasites or amoebas present in the stool, or if we have blood in the stool. We're also going to do hydrogen and methane testing. So when we have a significant overgrowth of bad bacteria, the bad bacteria produce hydrogen and methane. So noticing if we have an increased amount of that, we know that we have dysbiosis going on, more bad gut bacteria, possibly due to parasites and other amoeba-like infections. And then how we improve these issues. So basically what we're going to do, and again, it varies with each person is individual, but typically what we're going to address, we're going to make sure we address the inflammation, providing a lot of anti-inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory supplements. So typically we'll start with polyphenols. And polyphenols are a very good anti-inflammatory supplement. Typically these will consist of like curcumin, resveratrol, quercetin, and HCGC, which is typically found in like green tea. Then we're going to use deglycerated licorice root. This is extremely helpful for producing like prostaglandins and increasing prostaglandin production, which will stimulate mucus production. And this will line the tract so they can protect the GI tract and also stimulate other enzymes to be secreted as well. We'll also be using vitamin C. Vitamin C is extremely helpful for diminishing the amount of H. pylori, and it's also very helpful for removing free radical scavengers that will further damage the GI tract. We're going to also supplement with vitamin C, vitamin A, and zinc, which are other really good anti-inflammatory supplements as well. Our big money player here is going to be the L-glutamine. L-glutamine is going to be our #1 way that we're going to repair this GI tract and create new cells to stimulate cell growth and repair of that GI tract. So really important that we're adding that. And we're going to be using probiotics. Probiotics such as Lactobacillus acidophilus, bifidobacteria, and Saccharomyces boulardii. These are all really important bacteria that we can add into our small intestine and into our large intestine that's going to help knock down and remove the bad bacteria, and it's also going to balance and stabilize our pH so it can stimulate and signal other enzymes to be secreted. So that's really important there. And then also addressing the diet piece. So some people, we need to just be aware what possible triggers might be causing food allergens, or what possible foods might be causing other triggers that they're not even aware of. Maybe they need to be on a FODMAP type diet or a GAPS type diet. These are two diets that we can get into a later topic, but these are really important in addressing some foods that might be causing some underlying inflammation they might not be aware of. And that basically is it for today. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. Like I always say, if there's anyone out there that you know that can benefit from this, please share it, because we're always in this together to become healthier and happier. I really appreciate your time. Have a great day.